Hello, everybody. This is Nikolai for Raising Readers, of course, and let me say, I'm going to try this chat again this week. And is this started? Okay, I'm going to try this chat again this week. So hopefully it will work. I'm going to try it out here. Hello. Is this started? Try this chat again this week. So hopefully it will work. I'm going to try it out here. I think it works. Great. So I hope everybody had a good week. This week we're starting with phonics, which is one of my favorite topics. I really like phonics, and I really like I think it works. Great. So developing the ear and the listening games. So that's another favorite one of mine. But I like reading comprehension and all kinds of other topics. Developing the ear. So listening games. So that's another favorite one of mine. But I like let me see something really quick. Is anybody watching this? If there's a feed when you hear it, let me know, because I have to make sure that there's no feed. Can you write something? Is there a feed? Like, because I see some people are watching. So, can you hear me clearly? Can you write something? Is there a feed? Like, okay, I don't see anybody writing. Okay, so you guys are okay. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, so last week I had a really, really horrible cough. So horrible that I almost wanted to delete the webinar, but then I watched it again, and I said a lot of really good stuff on there. So I decided not to. Again, if you guys have not watched the other, ones, please do. Great, thank you. If you guys have not watched the other webinars, please do, and go through it with pen, pencil, paper. Think about it, jot down notes, get some questions, shoot those to me via email. Shoot them to me via email, and I'm here. This is why I'm doing it. So I actually do this in a private practice, and I'm saying this, I'm about to plug myself. If you guys have a child that needs a literacy intervention, or you have like a pre-K student and you want to, okay, so I'm looking at the, I'm looking at the chat and there's feedback. What happens is, in order to do the chat, I have to have a second window open to look at it. So I'm gonna close this. You guys keep chatting, and I'll come back to it at the end. That's how we'll do it. Okay, so hopefully that will work out. We'll see. Really quick, Deb, can you tell me if is the noise better? I'm sorry. Is the feedback better? Can you write it down on the chat? Seriously, guys, the only reason that we do this every week is that I'm trying to get the chat thing going while I'm also doing, okay, great. So, perfect. So you can write your questions towards the end. I'll go through them. Now back to the other screen. Jesus, help us. Great. So this is, if you guys need my services in terms of literacy, this is what we do. We actually set up a Skype or something like this. I like Google Hangout to do one-on-one, and then I will work with you and your child at the same time. They're a lot of fun, at least to me. And we go through these skills. We'll play listening games. I read aloud. We do phonics, interactive, you, your child, and me. So it's like all of us on your kitchen. So that's one of my services. And a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you guys are exactly what I do. Obviously, I can't give you all the game, but I mean, at least the sentiment and the basic tool is exactly what I'm doing on the webinar. And I just say that because I really need you to know that I'm doing this because I care about you guys and I want you guys to win. And I know that if you had these skills, your children would improve. I know that they would because I see it in my practice all the time. So if you guys are doing the listening games and you set the stage and you're like letting off the bad energy and you are doing your phonics and you're reading out aloud and you're going through those things and you're talking about vocabulary, there's no way that you're going to do this every day for 15, 20, 30 minutes and then not see improvement in your child. I have worked with autistic children. I have worked with children that are, that I hate to say like whatever their diagnosis is because we like don't always agree, but with learning disabilities, and I see them improve. So I know that you guys can do it if you apply these skills. So watch the webinars, ask me questions, and you guys are already doing it because I'm having some great testimonials. Moving on. So let me go to announcements. This week I'm a little bit more organized than I was last week. The first announcement I'll say is that I will be in Brooklyn from the 21st to the 25th of March. So if any of you guys are in Brooklyn or any of the boroughs and you would like for me to facilitate, I'm actually going to be there facilitating some parenting workshops. If you know of an organization or work with an org, these are the workshops that I provide. So I do positive parenting and positive discipline, nutrition, usually having a clean or healthy nutrition for your children on a very low budget. And of course, I do pre-literacy and literacy interventions, and also early brain development and empowerment for children 0 to 6. This is for parenting, for parents and for teachers, and or for teachers. So if anybody has connections in Brooklyn or any other boroughs, I will be there March 21st to 25th. And so you can email me at urbanbailout@gmail.com and we can book some things around what I already have. So that's that. Second, the book and the DVD. Very important for me to say this. I have to say it. Some people are having great success with the DVD and some people are not having success with the DVD. And this is why. The DVD, even though I am saying it's a DVD, is not something for you to watch. It's an actual 4-hour course. It is for you to take and go through each skill, take the notes, understand, ask questions, practice them with your child, develop that skill with your child, look at the videos on the YouTube, and once you do that, you will see success with your child. It is not something there, even though I'm saying is maybe I think it's because it's a DVD, people think that is there like a documentary to entertain you. It's not a documentary, it's an actual course. And all of the skills, the first part is the introduction to the program, my philosophy, why I'm working with a DVD, why I do racing readers. But the second part, all 7 steps, if you go through those 7 steps and you build them with your child, you will have success. So that's the DVD. With regards to the book, it has different topics. It's not just literacy, but again, go through those topics, go through it one by one. If you have any questions, if you have any commentaries, if you have any feedback, all you have to do is email me. I don't get so much on the book because people get a book and they understand that it's like something to study. But I think that this connection is that when people think of a DVD, they think they're going to watch something, but it's really a course. So there's that. Third thing, donations. People have asked me how I'm taking donations is through PayPal, so we don't have to do any GoFundMe fees. You can send those to paypal.me/Urban Bailout. I'm also working with a group in Minnesota. No, Minneapolis. And these mothers are amazing. They both have, one has Nina, I think the baby is like 6 months, and Jasmine, Maya is 2. They're amazing. Their heart is in the right place. They're putting 100% of the money into the fund and into the materials. So it's like no administrative fees. And they're really vested in Black children in that state and in their city, because there are no programs, or there's a lack of program that is race specific and that targets race, Black women, especially low income women, and speaks to them and class and issues that really affect us personally and differently. And so they're really going out and linking breastfeeding, nutrition, and literacy, and really just parenting and early childhood all together, and really giving these amazing women in their community the resources that they need. And it's a population that's really not getting attention. So like, for example, I do a lot of work in Brooklyn, or a lot of work on the East Coast, where there are programs and where these issues are already established and organizations are established. But in some cities, this is not the case. And this is what these beautiful women, 2 women, are doing. They are really trailblazers, and they're just really they have their own families, and they're going at this themselves and really providing these services for the women in their community. I think they're amazing, and I'm working with them. And you can go on Raising Readers, or you can email me and I will connect you to them. So if you don't just want to give me some money to do this work, and you feel like in your heart and the spirit is moving you towards giving them some money, it doesn't matter. Give somebody some money so we can do this work. So that's that. Okay, a point that was made on email, which I think is amazing and I really want to bring up. Parent, she's the president of the PTO in her school, and this is something, she's not the first person that talks to me. So I talk a lot with parents and parent-teacher organizations, particularly, of course, in elementary school. And it's saying that parents, this literacy issue is real. Teachers understand it. The leadership of schools understands it. Parents know it because their children are struggling, but we tend to have fear, and we tend to judge ourselves, and we tend to be embarrassed. A lot of times parents don't want to talk about the fact that they have literacy skill problems, or they can't believe that their children are in 2nd grade and can't read. And so this is something that we don't talk about, but it is very, very real. A lot of times people won't tag people on Raising Readers, won't tell them about the webinars, and it's because we just are not talking about the fact that we have a literacy crisis and a literacy epidemic on our hands. So I was speaking with this beautiful follower, and we're like becoming email friends, about the need for us to tackle this on. And it's just, I wanted to speak on it because she's not alone. I work with parents all over the country, and this is a reoccurring theme: shame, and just we don't want to speak up, and we don't want to talk about this problem. And I just want you to know that at least when you work with me, that's the least of my concerns. Really be as transparent as possible. And really, when you go out into the community or your family, I guarantee you, like, everybody can be wrong. Somebody's lying. The statistics are what they are. And if you live in a middle class and lower income community, and your children are non-white, chances are some children in that community are having a literacy problem. That's what the statistics tell us. So we have to take it upon ourselves and go forward, really talk to our friends, family, neighbors, churches, groups, whatever, and get down and get to the real, because we are not going to lose our children just because we are embarrassed or ashamed. We have to realize that after 2nd grade, so kindergarten through second grade, and maybe a little bit of third grade, but for the most part, kindergarten through second grade, children are being taught to read. After the end of second grade, children are reading to learn. So there's no literacy instruction. Literacy learning. There's no, learning to read after that second grade. So if your child is reading behind, your child is going to be behind unless you do a reading intervention, and the school is not going to provide it. That's what's so scary, is that everything is going to depend. Whether or not they learn every other subject is going to depend on whether or not your child is reading at grade level. That means your child's going to fall behind in math, science, social studies, civics, everything else, because your child is going to have to be like reading to learn. But if your child is having a hard time reading, that's where the disconnect is, and it will go on throughout your child's career. That means that your child's not going to be engaged throughout his academic career or her academic career. That means your child will have a higher likelihood of dropping out or just following a below grade level reading curriculum, because schools have them. So your child might be getting A's and B's. Your child might graduate from 8th grade or 12th grade still reading at 6th grade, 7th grade level, because they're on that other reading track. I talk about this in the DVD and how that happens inside of the school. It's not your teacher's fault. That is the way the school system is set up. Teachers are our friends. They cannot do something outside of what the school is teaching, is making them do. And so just know we cannot lose our children because we're embarrassed or because we're afraid. That's why we're here. That's why I'm here. Let's get to the parents. Let's get to the teachers, and to the students, and let's just go. That's what we're doing. Okay, I had a question or a comment on Racing Readers about her 4-year-old having a hard time with flashcards. I want to say this. I'm going to say it a million times in these webinars. 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and really like 36-year-olds. Like, we're not going to be doing flashcards all the time. So especially with children under the age of 6, and more with boys and girls for some reason, right? We need to be a little bit, use flashcards, but be more interactive. Now, once you have a child in kindergarten, I'm going to show you today, I do use flashcards, because not pre-made flashcards and index cards, because your child is going to need to learn how to sit and go through that process. But with children that are in pre-K, what you want to do is have everything be hands-on and you're moving around. So if your child, like, you can write the sounds on your children's hands, or you can take a flashcard, a piece of a flashcard, right? And I would do the sound that I'm working on and tape it on the wall, and then walk up and be like, go get me, and have the little 4-year-old or 3-year-old walk to the wall. You can do post-it notes and do your sounds, post it on the wall, or post it in different parts of the house, of the table, so your child is moving around the table, walking to the wall, looking in his or her hands, playing hand games where you're like, give me give me give me give me. So you're playing with your hands. There's motion involved. You can put the flashcards and the sounds in a basket or in a bag and have the child pull them out. Whatever it is that you're going to do, even if you're using an actual flat surface, you want to be moving. And I actually think that this same thing works with older children. So sometimes whether a child is 6, 7, 8, I like to do, especially with sight words, I really get children really involved and do a lot of movement and be very interactive, because your body has memory built into it. So the more you're moving, and while you're walking to that, what happens is, like, what you're walking to that wall, you're thinking about what it is that you have to do. So I say, go give me I, right? Like IGH, maybe that phoneme. And that child is thinking about it and picturing it in her mind all the way to the wall. And then they have a few choices, and then they make the choice, they pick it. All that movement and all that concentration strengthens the brain and makes the child remember, versus if they're just going through those flashcards, just kind of rote. right? So you want to get your children to move. You want to get them to be more active, and that's going to help them remember things, but that's also going to just have them be more engaged in the process, which we want. So if you're a parent that has a younger child or a child that's just not very engaged with these flashcards, with this index cards, just go ahead and add some motion to the process. Really quick, I'm going to check on my questions. So give me a second. Somebody can answer that chat question. That's it for the announcements, and we can get ready for our lesson. So that's 20 minutes. Great. There's a lag in the questions. Okay, perfect. There's a lag in the chat. So I will wait for an answer. Is somebody going to answer? Okay, I'm moving on. I'll be back later. Close that out. Great. All right, so now we're moving on to phonics, right? And it's one of my favorite things. Like I was saying, I want you guys to write these. I'm actually going to write it in the chat, so I'm going back there. Write this down. It's called progressivephonics.com. I'll write it in here. Oh, you can't see what I typed? Progressive Phonics. Oh, that sucks. So it's called Progressive Phonics. If you guys, this is for children that are in preschool or kindergarten, but also I would say up to first grade. And it's free. So I'm trying to get you like resources that are free that I actually use. So you have Progressive Phonics. They have like simple little books that you can practice your phonics with. And again, they're absolutely free. You just have to register. So I really like that website. The other website that we're going to, so when I talk about print out a list of phonographs, I give my clients all these phonographs, but I wanted to give you guys a free resource all about learning press.com. So all one word, all about learning press.com. Now, the great thing, okay, great. I'm looking at this chat as I write this. So the great thing about this is that this particular website is that it has all the phonograms and their sounds. So sometimes we need to know the phonograph, we need to know like what it is, but we don't necessarily know what this makes it sound. Like for example, EW. Let me see something. I don't really know how to do the screen share, but the great thing about that website is that you can go to the website and you can click on it. It has the list of phonograms, and you click on each one of them, it gives you the sound of each one of them. The other one is very similar, so I'll just give you that one. So that's great for you to have them all, because here's the thing. Yes, every single word. So people are like, you can't read with phonics because in English, there are words that have more than one sound. That's true. absolutely true. And there are word letter combinations. But if your child knows what all the letter combinations say, and then they know the rules for grammar, you can't go wrong. And then they have a developed ear and they have vocabulary. You put all the pieces together and that's all you need. And so I really do not like whole words. And I am a believer in just going the phonics way. Because I think the problem is that sometimes people do phonics and they'll do limited phonics. So for example, with the vowels, they will only do the short sound. So yeah, you can do mat, pat, rat, you can do all of those, but once you get to the long A, it's like, okay, what do we do? Well, you teach both sounds and it's okay. And you teach your child that it has two sounds, then your child can, read those words. You also have words that together make other sounds. So if you have a double E, that makes the long E sound. And if you have AY, it might make A sound, right? AY, like Ray. So long as your child learns the basic ones first, so the basic phonics would be the ones and on the alphabet, and then learns the letter combinations and their sounds, you're fine. On top of that, we learn the rules. And once you know the rules and you know all the phonograms, your child's going to be able to read with phonics. So you don't have to do the whole word thing. I'm not with it. So that's my whole spiel. That's why I'm definitely a phonics person. Programs that are out there. So this website that I give you, allaboutlearningpress.com, they're going to try to sell you something. The Spalding method, they're going to try to sell you something. Logic of English, they're going to try to sell you something. I have spent at least $1,200 on these different programs. And what I can tell you is that they usually come with a whole bunch of workbooks and little textiles and flashcards. And to me, at the end of the day, these are things that you can do yourself, which is what what I show my clients and what I'm doing with the webinar, so that, I still haven't found the program that's worth the money, because this is all stuff that you can do yourself. So just get the phonograms list, but you don't need, I don't think you need any of those programs, to be honest. So that's that. Sorry, guys. Here's another thing. When I did the listening webinar, one of the things that I was saying that we really have to practice is sound segmentation, right? So coffee, off, E, right? Those sound segmentations. Table, A, B, U, right? You need to be able to practice that that's a skill that you have to really, really practice with your child all the time. Your child should be able to do both segmentations of syllables and segmentations of sounds. And the reason is this, and this is something that we miss out all the time. A lot of times the children come to me, they are having a hard time with fluency, they're having a hard time with literacy, and they know their sounds. Their parents did a pretty good job with that. But when we go to developing the ear, when we go to segment those words and those syllables, it's a total disconnect. The problem with that is, and I know that I mentioned it, you're going to have, when you go through these sounds, some of these things will be like, if there's a silent E at the end, if there's an E at the end of the last syllable, then the previous syllable, the A will be long. So if a child doesn't know how to break words down in syllables, this is going to be hard for them to apply the spelling rules. And if they're not applying the spelling rules, they're not going to be able to go into the exceptions when they apply their sounds. So I don't believe, we really have to work on all these skills together. So a lot of the times, also the reason that we have problem with doing their intervention, a successful intervention, is that we're just working on the phonics, or we're just working on the reading comprehension, or we're just working on the ear, and really, sorry, but it's all of those together. If you teach your child really, really good phonics and they have a limited vocabulary, guess what? They're going to look at those words and they're not going to understand what they're reading, and they're not going to have reading comprehension, and they're not going to test well. So you need to develop vocabulary. If they have vocabulary and they don't have a developed ear, they're going to have a hard time decoding words that don't follow the rules, and they're not going to really be able to use their phonics. So it's just really important that you build all the skills together at once. So that's that. So get your list. So the first thing that you need to do is print out a list of all the phonograms. And what you're going to do is you're going to get some index cards, right? You can buy the phonograms flashcards already made. Usually they're like 20 bucks, and that's cool. I don't buy them. And the reason that I don't buy them is because I actually write out the sounds that I'm working on every time. And then the child has to write them every time. Because if they're writing them, they're memorizing them. And they're also practicing fluency because they're always going to write left to right. But the more flashcards that you use and the more that the eyes are static, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have, your eyes are not going to develop, and you're also going to have less memory because your hands activate memory. And then you're also going to have fluency problems because your eyes are reading like this, very static, right? We have like these Frankenstein kind of, children that move like this. Their eyes do not flow from left to right. So I actually, every single time that I sit down with a child, they're writing the sound, I'm writing the sound. That being said, no, I don't think you should, hold on, let me get this. I don't think that you should buy the flashcards, but what I do think that you need to do is print out all of a list of all the phonograms, and then you're going to start going through them, and you start with the ones on the alphabet ones. You don't have to go in order. Actually, I recommend that you don't go in order. And so you get your list together of all the letters in the alphabet, not the combinations. And you do your flashcards. Because I go through so many index cards, I always cut them in half because I'm cheap. So you want to cut them in half. Webinar, we're cutting things. So you'll have your mini flashcard, and even if your child knows the B sound, B, right? You're still gonna write it. So because later on when they're building words, you're gonna use these as their tiles so they can assemble words together. So that's cool. So you would write your B sound, right? It's backwards, but. And then you have them, they write it. So then they write the B sound. So you go through all of your list, and you write all of your flashcards, at least the alphabet for now. If you already gotten through the alphabet, then you're gonna go through your next list, the vowel combinations. So you go through it, they write it, you write it, and then once you have all of your flashcards together, you're just gonna go kind of rote quickly. So what sound does this make? B. You put it to the side. What sound does this make? You put it to the sound. There are some that have two sounds. So for example, the C has the K and the S sound. So what I do is I have two markers. I have like a gray one or a black one or a red one. Just have two markers when you're writing. And the sounds that have two sounds, I write them in a different ink. That kind of like prompts me that it has more than one sound. And I'll write on the back how many sounds does it have. So like some, especially with the vowel combinations, they'll have 2 and 3 sounds. The A, if you think about the A has like 5 sounds, but like 3 common sounds. The letter A, it has different sounds. So I will put I might make the A in red, and then in the back I'll put 3 sounds. So when I give it to the child, I'm like, okay, this has, usually they'll come up with the fastest one, A, or A first, the most common one that they know, and then they'll have to memorize the other ones that they have. It can help if you write an example of each of how they sound together too, so if you were doing apple and airplane, that's kind of two separate sounds. And lame, that's A, right? That's three separate sounds just in there. So you can do A in red, and you can do three sounds and then three examples. So when you're working with your child, you pull out that sound is in red, so you know that it has more. Now you're looking in the back, you see which ones it has, and they'll have to tell you. If they don't know the three, then you're going to put it in the stack of things that they need to work on. So what you're going through is you're going through your list, and you're making sure, and you're finding out, you're sorting what they already know and what they don't know. Once you come up with the stack of what you don't know, you're going to pick 3 to 5. And those are the sounds that you're going to work on. Let me check my questions. Just so somebody can tell me if I'm making sense or if they need me to stop. And just write it on the chat for me. Okay, so I think I'm not seeing any questions right now, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, let's keep going. So that's what's happening. You're going to come up with your stacks again, and you're going to come up with your list. So you have your list that you've printed out, and you start checking off the ones that you already master and the ones that you don't. You make 2 flashcards for each word, for each sound on the list. And you start, after you have made them together, you've said it, I said it, so that right there is like practice. Then you go through your stack and you look at the ones that they've already known, you put those to the side, and then you have the stack of phonograms that your child needs to work on. That's what we're at. Then from there, you're going to take out 3 to 5 sounds that you want your child to work on. Remember, you have 2 of each. So that means you're going to have either 6 or 10. And you're going to kind of shuffle them, and you're going to bring it out the first round. And this is how they do it in Montessori. So you're going to have your first sound, and you're going to say, so this is, and you give them the sound, and they repeat it, or obviously they need to work on it. So you put it down, and you go through the 3 ones you've already gone through. You do it again, right? So now you've gone through all of them. And then you start picking them up. You say, can I have, and it might be the C and the C and the K. So can I have, and then they'll give it to you. Can I have A? And it might be the, if the child is in pre-K, kindergarten, it might be the first, the simple ones. But let's say your child is just doing an intervention. They're already like in 2nd grade. It might be like the letter combinations. It doesn't matter. What you want to do is just start with the alphabet first, the straight alphabet. Then you're going to go to the vowel combinations, then to the consonant combinations. Vowel and consonant combinations. That's why I gave you that phonogram list of that website, because it has them separated. And you're just going to go through them with your child. Then once you go through them with your child, you're going to ask for them. So can I have the A? They'll give you the A. Can I have the K? They'll give you the K. Can I have, first you kind of review them, set them down, then have them give them to you, right? You're going to do that. The next day, okay, so once you go through those 3 to 5, if your child is having a really, really hard time, but let's say if your child is in kindergarten, I would do still 3. If your child is in first, second, or third, I would do 5. Okay, because we have to kind of like, put some fire, put some coal in the fire. So what I would do is with that child is I would go through their 5. That's going to be times 2, so that's 10 sounds that they practice. Then they give me the 10 sounds. We kind of put them away. The next thing that I do, I'm telling you, I'm giving you all the game. Not all, but the next thing that I do that I think really, really helps is I have like all these little readers, and I get a lot of these at like, just like books that you don't care if somebody writes on them. And I also will use like magazines. And let me tell you, if you go to any doctor's office, or if you go to any just like office or a clinic, or even like architects, like just offices. Like I went to this architect's office when my son was like 3. I would go to their firm, and like every month they would give me their old magazines. So, and my son got to like look at plans, and we did like a little career thing. We got vocabulary out of it. So you can go through different offices and get free magazines, or you can go to libraries, go to the library, go to the good, like any, because what we're going to write on these books. So it could be any book, and you're going to write on it. So you don't want to, you don't want to spend your money on it. So, but even at the dollar store or something. So you're going to get these books. And what I do is I take a pencil or a highlighter, and then whatever sounds we are using, we actually find those sounds in the book, in context. So once we do those 5 sounds, then we have to find these sounds in that context. So not the A, just the letter A, but the A making the sound, the long A, if we're working on the long A. So not just the C making the sound, but the CK if we're working on that sound. I hope that makes sense. But whatever 5 sounds that you're working on, you're going to also find them in context. So once you find them in context, you kind of circle it, highlight it, and then you read that word. So that gets you, not only is that child practicing the sound alone, but it's also practicing that sound in context. I do the same thing for when we go over the rules. So when we go over the rules and we practice looking at a rule, we're going to, when we go over and we're practicing it, I have to stop really quick because my child is moving around. I need you to go in the room. I need you to go in the room. Get an apple. You cannot eat that in the room. Okay, sit right there. I'm so sorry, guys, but sit and eat it right there.
I really apologize.
Okay, sit. Okay, so now the same thing with the rules. When we go over the rules, we will have, we're going over the spelling rule. We'll go over it. We'll put it in a flashcard. We'll think of some examples, and then we're going to turn around. We're going to find them in these books. And so now you find them in context. And it makes the child remember the rule. It makes the child remember the sound. So I really like, I'm telling you, like this little trick is just one little thing, but it, once I added it to the routine, it changed everything. So that's why out of all my tricks, I have to share this one. So at that point, you have practiced the phonics, you have looked at it in context, and you've done the highlighting. As you're doing the highlighting, that practices reading, so you know that. When I'm doing a session, that's it. That's all I would do for that particular session for phonics. Then I would do a writing exercise, or I would do, ear, I would do a vocabulary, because in every session, you're going to always make sure that you're covering a variety of skills in every time you sit down with your child. So the next time, and I'm kind of running out of time, but the next day when you sit down with your child, you go over those same 5 sounds. It's okay. You might have 65 other sounds to go through. It's okay. You will not add another sound until that child knows those 5 sounds, all 5 sounds. Once your child knows those 5 sounds in and out, where you're giving it to them, they know it, they can highlight it, they can tell you if that has 3 sounds, what are the 3 sounds, then you can take that sound, put it in the known pile. And until you have put it in the known pile, then you can take out another sound. But you do not want to skip. Remember, we do not want to, if we're doing this in pre-K, we do not want to skip. We want to create a solid foundation. And if we're doing an intervention, at some point somebody dropped the ball, or at some point somebody did not cover a particular thing, there are holes in that foundation. We don't want to continue to do that. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that you can work on those sounds every day that week. Do not get frustrated. Come the weekend, there's 2 sounds that he still or she's still not getting. You're going to work on those 2 sounds. But you're not going to add sounds until those 5 have been mastered. Once those 5 have been mastered, you move on to them, you add 5 more. During the week, you can take some of the knowns and you can mix them up to do a review. But for the most part, you want to be learning 5 new sounds. Now, there's only like 80 sounds, right? Some lists will say like 72 sounds, some will say 85 because, for example, like I was saying, the A, if you really want to get technical, the A has a bunch of sounds, the letter A. So, but some will just do the 3 most common. So, you know, the whole list is going to vary, but let's say 75. Let's just go. It's not going to take you a long time to go through the 75. Your child already knows a lot of them. So why rush? Why rush? Why not take your time and make sure that your child is really knowing every single one of the sounds? Because this is what I'm going to tell you. If your child knows every single sound on that phonogram list, and your child knows the basic spelling and you know, the basic rules of English, like when there's the 5 silent E's, which we're going to go through the rules. If your child knows those rules, can identify them in a book, knows this 80 phonograms, has a developed ear, has vocabulary, your child's going to read and not have a literacy problem. If your child knows that they have to read with intent because there's going to be some questions at the end, and we're doing this habitually, and they have these skills, your child's not going to have a problem with literacy. So this is one of the most important things that we can do, is make sure that your child has all the components. Make sure that your child has every single one of these skills and has all of the pieces for that foundation, has all of those blocks. They need these tools, and these are the things that teachers are not being allowed. They can't make sure that all of them know every single sound. They don't get time with that child. They can't make sure that every single child knows how to segment words, how to pull sounds out. Teachers are not allowed to do that, and they have too many children. They have too many things that they have to cover. They have too many testing strategies. So teachers are not really able to make sure that every child knows all the rules, knows each one of these sounds, knows how to segment, knows how to pull the word apart. They don't know. Teachers can't make sure that happens. So teachers don't make sure that happens. Parents don't know. They haven't watched the webinar. They don't know my work. No one's ever taught them. Now we have you guys as parents. You guys don't know how to do it. And so the child can't read, is having a hard time because he or she does not have these tools. So now that we're giving it to them, the last thing that we want to do is rush through them. Rush through them. So you make your list, you start going through them, and you stay on them until you get through the whole list. So that's the key. You want to make sure that you're not skipping. You want to make sure that your child knows all of them. things that you want to do to make it more interesting is that you can, this is for pre-K, you can write them on these kinds of blocks. You can write them with a Sharpie, and you can build things with them instead of just doing them on flat surfaces like index cards. That helps. You can also get magnetic letters, right, like these. This is the only thing about magnetic letters that I'll say is that you have to be a little bit of a magnetic letter detective, because you want to make sure you have lowercase ones. Like if you go to a dollar store and things like that, you'll always find the uppercase ones, but the lowercase ones you really won't find. And your children are going to be writing and reading in lower cases. So you want to make sure that if you're using magnetic letters that you have the lower cases, and those are the ones that you're practicing with. And even for children that are already in school, like first grade, second grade, third grade, if you go to the Dollar Tree, you can find like those little individual dry eraser boards, and they become your magnetic like boards, and then you have your magnetic letters, and then you can practice your sound with your magnetic letters. Just make sure that they are lowercase, and you can use these to make it more dynamic. But do not get away from these index cards, because that's like the foundation. So you want to make sure that you are using your index card system, and that you're writing your your sounds on the index cards yourself, because it seems a little bit dry, but that really, you will have accountability. You will go scratch through the ones that they already know. You know the ones that are already mastered. You can really manipulate only 5 at a time. And, you know, there's nothing in index cards cost like $1 for 100, and you're going to cut them in half. So, I mean, you'll spend like $1. So that's that. These, again, there are other ways. So I found these at a like Family Dollar for $2, and these come apart, and you can also use them to make your exercises more interesting, especially if you have preschool students. But the great thing about this is that, again, they're not uppercases, they're lowercase letters. So make sure that when you're buying these materials, and they're like $2. So when you're buying these materials, make sure that they are lower cases. You have the list of phonograms. You know how to do it. Mom, I'm running out of time. Next week, we'll continue this, this phonics session, which is important. So if you have any questions in the execution, so it maybe sounds really easy, but if you have any questions, if you go home this week and you're doing it and you're just not quite getting it, urbanbailout@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. We'll work on some kind of way to get your questions resolved. But watch the webinar again and go through that exercise. Print the list of your phonograms. Just go through them, figure out which ones your child doesn't know by heart. Make sure that they're knowing all of the sounds that go through that phonograph, and work on 5 at a time. Do not skip. And as soon as after you practice it, make sure that you're also practicing in context. So that's the bulk of what I work on with a child and what I need you to work on it. So you do that for like 15, 20 minutes. After that, develop that ear. Watch the other webinars for that. After that, you know, practice writing. Watch the other webinars for that. Make sure that each session has more than one skill. So you don't want to do phonics for an hour, because you're going to lose your child. Make sure that you're, you know, doing like a HIIT workout. You do a high interval, you do a little bit of everything, so that you can develop multiple skills at once. So that's it, guys. I will see you next week. And just so you know, I am not going to keep these webinars up forever. So I think at the end of February, once I finish the series, I will take them down. So tell 10 to tell 10, really go out there and share it, and make sure that, you know, you're paying it forward and that you're sharing this information with other people so that we can all raise readers together. Bye, guys. Oh, let me check the questions real quick before I hang up. Sorry. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so bye, guys. We'll see you next week.